All right. We always like to invite one of our deans in to talk a little bit about what's going on in their college, and we've brought a member of the board in. That is Jamie, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts.
With show and tell.
With show and tell. Jamie's actually done a very, very good job of sort of rethinking our College of Liberal Arts to actually see to what extent we can exploit their capabilities and exploit the capabilities we have in technology, engineering, and science in a way that's really actually enriches the liberal arts program for our students. So, Jamie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bill. Does everyone know what this is? Any guesses?
Computer.
It's a computer.
Your eyeball.
Like your vision, right?
Anyone?
Oh, is that a motion tracker?
It's an eye tracker. This is an eye tracker. So these glasses I have on, there's two cameras, one looking out and one looking at my eye. And of course, you're probably wondering, why does a Dean of Liberal Arts wear one of these things? And I'm going to talk about that because this is actually a device from our multidisciplinary visual perception laboratory, the MVPL, which is a lab that's run by Jeff Peltz. It's a combination of the College of Science, the GCCIS, College of Computing and Information Science, and the College of Liberal Arts. Liberal Arts is interested in it because we have a lot of psychology professors and students who are interested about perception. And I'll show you some examples in a little bit of how where we look and how long we gaze can really tell us a lot about human behavior. So I'm Jamie Winebrake. I'm going to talk about the College of Liberal Arts, the subtitle here, Getting to Why through the Integrative Liberal Arts. I wanted to put this presentation in a larger context. So I'm not just going to talk about what we do in our college, but kind of frame it a little bit for you, the importance of integrative liberal arts at a technical institute. I do want to introduce Amy Lyman, who's against the wall. Amy is our admissions liaison for the College of Liberal Arts. I just learned at Peru, you know Amy's dad really well, so that's a nice connection. And I'll talk about getting to why and what we mean by that, and I know I have till 10:15, so I'll move quickly. First, a cartoon. So Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin says, "I hate going to school. I wish I was a tiger. Tigers don't need to know anything." And Hobbes says, "Hey, attacking running animals involves a lot of physics. There's velocity, gravity, and laws of motion, not to mention all the biology we have to know. Then there's the artistic expression of it all, and a lot more." Calvin says, "Gosh, I never realized killing was so grounded in the liberal arts." And I says, "My dissertation on ethics was very well received." Now, when I sent this a couple of years ago, actually, to Provost Hafner, I think his response was, "Oh yeah, liberal arts, you guys are the ninjas of higher education." And so here's our philosophy department. But actually, it's not a bad analogy because in some ways, liberal arts are the ninjas, especially at a technical institute. We're kind of behind the scenes, you know, we're in the alleyways, and the engineers and the computer scientists are walking all around campus, and we jump out at them with philosophy and sociology and economics and political science and theater and performing arts, and hopefully transforming who they are and what they become. And we really passionately believe in our College of Liberal Arts that the liberal arts and liberal education is critical for the success of these students. And it's not just critical for their success, it's critical for the success of the communities they're going to live in, it's critical for the success of the companies they're going to work in. It's going to help them understand why they do what they do, not just as employees, but also as people. And that's the getting to the why piece that I want to talk about. So 4 things to cover. I'm going to talk a little bit about liberal arts so you all have that context. And the integrative liberal arts, Bill's introduction mentioned that we're trying to do some things regarding integrating liberal arts and technical education. What we do in particular at the College of Liberal Arts, give you a little introduction to our majors and our general education work, and then what we have on the horizon. So the liberal arts, this may be in higher education, we're pretty familiar with this. These are Carnegie Foundation categories, non-science-based liberal arts. These tend to be in the College of Liberal Arts at RIT. Science-based liberal arts, of course, are in the College of Science. Some institutions combine these in the College of Arts and Sciences. Some institutions have some of our programs outside liberal arts. So for example, we have economics in our College of Liberal Arts. Some institutions have economics in the College of Business. So there's some differences, but in general, we're talking about the social sciences and the humanities when we talk about the College of Liberal Arts. And as I said, I think it has the power, liberal education has the power really to transform the world. Now, the Golden Circle, which some of you may be familiar with, Simon Sinek's work, he did a famous TED Talk on this. If you get a chance to watch it, look at it. And what Simon said, actually that's interesting, what Simon said was that a lot of companies and just about everyone know what we do. And for example, we're an institution of higher education. What do? We educate students. We transmit degrees. Many companies and institutions know how we do it. So how do we do that? Well, we deliver great curriculum, we offer research experiences, we have coursework, we have these wonderful general education curricula. That's how we do it. The key question is, why do we do it? And what Simon shows is that inspiring leaders, inspiring companies understand the why. In fact, they ask the why question first. And so when we think about our College of Liberal Arts, we do what we do because we truly believe that the students that come out of our programs can change the world for the better. That sounds idealistic, but it's really a strong belief that we all have in our college, and I think faculty have across RIT. Liberal arts gets students to ask the why question of themselves. It's the critical thinking, critical reflection, understanding the human condition, asking questions about aesthetic and beauty and truth and value. Those are all things that are in a liberal education that we're trying to integrate into students so that they can ask the why question. Getting them to why is one of our key goals. Here's your first quiz of the day. Unless Lisa asked you one, I'm not sure. 3 pie charts. This one on the top left, liberal arts 24%. Top right, liberal arts 61%. Bottom, liberal arts 78%. Any idea what these are? Any guesses?
Percentage of majors, percentage of credit hours?
CEOs. The top left, undergraduate degrees of Fortune 200 CEOs. So we went through the entire list of CEOs from Fortune 200 companies and asked how many have liberal arts degrees, liberal arts defined as degrees at RIT, liberal arts degrees, and actually a quarter of them do. There's a lot of discussion in higher education in the literature about the value of a liberal arts degree, and sometimes the value of a liberal arts degree is pushed aside. Oh, we need more engineers, we need more scientists, we need more people steeped in technology. But in fact, when we look at leadership positions, a lot of these folks are coming from liberal arts degrees because they can ask the big questions, they can communicate effectively, they understand ethics, they know how to write, they know how to speak. Top right, any guesses? We're not so close. We're not so proud of this one. House of Representatives. So and the bottom is actually senators. So, but there are leadership elements to liberal arts degrees.
But that's self-selecting because they go on to law school.
A lot of them go on to law school and stuff. I'm much more impressed at this one up here because I thought they would be more business and more science and engineering. So, value of liberal arts education. Here's a quote from Susan Crown. A liberal education teaches you how to think, how to analyze, how to read, how to write, how to develop a persuasive argument. A liberal education also offers the ability to focus on large ideas. And that's why we see students with liberal arts degrees or students with non-liberal arts degrees who have taken a lot of liberal arts courses to have this capacity. Now here's the trick. We got to figure out ways to get students excited about liberal arts, and so what we've been pushing for is a stronger integration of our liberal arts curriculum with the technology-based curriculum at RIT. We call that the integrative liberal arts, and it's demonstrated by the evolution of man as it is. I told my son this looks like him. He said, "Dad, that looks like you." Technology is proceeding at an extremely rapid pace. And it's changing the way that we communicate and we interact with people. And if we are not careful on how we proceed with this technological advancement and how thoughtful and critical we are of it and think through what it portends for our future, we may not be in a great position in the future. So We want liberal arts students and we want technology students to be thinking about what this means, all these technological advancements. Historically, you'd have a higher education system that put liberal education on one end, technical education on the other. We're trying to change that. We're trying to find that sweet spot in the middle where we can really integrate these things. American Association of Colleges and Universities reported the world is changing dramatically and designs for learning that have long drawn clear distinctions between liberal education intended for future leaders and more targeted job training envisioned as workforce development now are obsolete. Today, even highly technical jobs require the high-level intellectual skills, contextual understanding, and ethical judgment that long were identified with liberal education in arts and science fields. So there's a movement afoot in higher education to start thinking more carefully about this, but I don't think many people have implemented it successfully, with the exception of RIT. And said more eloquently, I think, Steve Jobs' famous quote, "It's not in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the humanities, married with the liberal arts, that yields us the result that makes our hearts sing." Right? A true recognition that it's the connections and the integration of these fields that really creates the powerful, innovative systems and technologies of the future. The world needs integrators. Look at the problems facing the world: hunger, disease, poverty, war. These are not technical problems. These can't be solved. Garrett Hardin wrote in 1969 in a paper called The Tragedy of Commons in Science magazine about problems of the world, and he said, the most pressing and important problems of the world cannot be solved by technology. They're human behavioral problems at their root, at their core. So if you think you're going to solve these problems by creating the next greatest whiz-bang technology, you're not. You need to understand the social and behavioral elements of these problems. We need integrators. This graph on the left probably scares some of you. Nightmares of calculus back in college. But remember integration. It was the area under the curve. It wasn't just the curve. It was looking at the whole. It was bringing things together. And so the world really needs integrators, and that's what we're trying to do. So, at RIT, here's how we're addressing this problem. Two main areas of effort. One regarding degrees in liberal arts fields that are technology infused, and I'll give some examples of those, and applied. And two, integrating coursework through our general education programs with the STEM disciplines, computing, business, and creative arts, through minors, double majors, something called immersions, perspectives courses, and these kinds of things. And I'll give some more examples of these. Now, here's a graphic of our majors. In my college, we have 12 undergraduate majors. The font size is relatively proportional, sorry, Len, to the size of the program. So our three biggest programs are communication, criminal justice, and psychology. We have about a 650 student head count in the College of Liberal Arts at RIT. That's about 4% of the total student body. Of that 650, about 100 are graduate students. We have 5 graduate programs, and about 550 are undergraduate programs. We're a small student population at RIT. Okay? But all of these degrees, and communication also has an advertising and public relation degree embedded, all of these degrees have a technology element to it. All of them have a technical track, for example. So public policy you see up there, which I used to chair, students get strong grounding in public policy, economics, decision sciences, et cetera, but they apply it in technical areas: energy policy, environmental policy, biotech policy, health policy. Okay, so this is kind of the theme. If you look through, and we have some view books, the types of degrees that we're offering, we have these technology elements. Maybe more importantly, every student at RIT takes courses in the College of Liberal Arts through the general education curriculum. In fact, the College of Liberal Arts serves between 20 to 25% of every student credit hour delivered at RIT. 20 to 25%. So we are responsible in my college of delivering 20 to 25% of every student's education at RIT. I think that's pretty powerful. And we do it a lot of different ways. I'm not going to get into the mundane details of our general education curriculum, but these are our minors. We have over 36 minors that students can minor in. I don't know if folks know this statistic. Over 30% of graduating RIT students graduate with a minor. over 30%. That's pretty good. We'd like to get up to 50%. But that's 5 courses in a particular field. And we have all kinds of, as you can see up here, all kinds of different fields. We roll out new minors every year. We have a few new minors that we add. We also have the performing arts. We have RIT singers, orchestra, concert band, world music ensemble. If you've never heard our orchestra, you're missing out. Absolutely fantastic group of students. We work with the RPO. We deliver several concerts a year at various locations. We have theater productions. We have student music groups, like all the a cappella groups are both student groups, but they're also coordinated by our college. We sometimes forget the power of the performing arts, specifically at a technical institute, but I'll tell you what, and I think President Dessler has said this himself. You want to attract the best engineers in this country to this school? Build a performing arts program that's world-renowned, and you'll get the students who are not only expertise in mathematics and engineering, but guess what? They also play piano and violin and cello and everything else, and they want to do that at higher education in college. Oh, shoot. We're also I try to keep that secret because all the noise they make when we do our opening ceremonies. We also have the pep band, and yeah, I need to add that on there. Thank you. Okay, let me just click off this. So we're also responsible for performing arts. Our faculty are amazing. We have 160 full-time faculty. These are the better-looking ones. Actually, that's not true. That's not true, actually. No, it's a great, diverse group of faculty. 43% of our faculty are women. But what's interesting there, 64% of our early career faculty, our assistant professors, are women. Our full professors, only about 10 to 15% are women. Just so as we move through time here, we're going to see probably in 5 to 10 years, we'll be over 50% women. We also have a lot of faculty. They're great scholars, great people, dedicated to teaching, dedicated to students. It's a wonderful group to be working with. They're also exceptional scholars. They produce probably some of the most prolific journal articles and books out of RIT each year. On break, I brought a number of recent publications of books that are over on this table. You're welcome to go over there and peruse them on coffee break. Most of the books come out of our humanities programs. That's what they do. They write books. Our social scientists mostly write journal articles, and I didn't bring all those. Sponsored research, we've been pretty active. We just last year for the first time went over the $2 million mark in terms of sponsored research coming in, and we continue to look for growth opportunities there. Now here's some examples of this whole in it, because this is kind of abstract, I understand. So I wanted to just give you a few examples. I mentioned psychology and eye tracking. So the whole idea of psychology and physiology, how do we use technology to develop a better understanding of perception and behavior? And here's a case of how this eye tracking works. You see the crosshairs? So the crosshairs is where the eye is looking. And the computer can evaluate not only where it's looking, but also how long it's there. That's called the gaze. And this is a person driving along. And you can imagine maybe from a traffic safety, this might be important example, I guess, although we were just using it to grab some video. But, you know, how long do they look at signs? Where should signs be? What's their driving behavior like? They're in a car, but guess what? You could apply this technology to someone driving a tank through a village in Afghanistan. Where should they be looking, right? How long do they gaze? So we can use this technology to train soldiers in battle. We've also been using this technology for understanding spectrum disorder and how children who are on the spectrum perceive their parents. And we found, for example, that students on the spectrum may not make eye contact as much with their parents. So early on, you can detect from a young child if there's a potential for them being on the spectrum or not. So our psychologists are working with the eye tracking folks on these kinds of things. A good example of where we have technology integrated with psychology. Yes?
We actually use this in marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Studies to look at how people read emails, how people use a website, so that you know where the hotspots are.
Yeah. I was going to bring up a mundane, but General Mills wouldn't think it's mundane example of stores as well. You know, you walk into a grocery store, and how long do people look at food on the third shelf versus the first shelf, and what color of the packaging? So we do a lot of color perception. We also use this in the healthcare sector for performance in surgery and how doctors and experts view things, and it even affects how we lay out computer screens and where we place buttons on screens and graphs and how big and all that. So yeah, there's a lot of uses of this, and I think RIT is kind of becoming well known as a center for this kind of visual perception work. Here's an example of our criminal justice department using GIS, geographic information systems. Len, I'm sorry, I keep blocking you. The graph on the left here, I just grabbed some data. This is aggravated assaults in Rochester from 2005 to 2011, so 7 years of data. And you can imagine what we're doing in our criminal justice department. It's a very data technology intensive program. We're training not cops but crime analysts who can collect data, process data, do statistical analysis, graph it, show it in a mapping environment to help inform, say, the Rochester PD on where hotspots are growing within the city, to help think about why that might be the case. Again, taking technology and really integrating it into the liberal arts discipline. I don't think we have time to show you this, but our journalism program is really hot on digital journalism and social media, as you might expect. If you get a chance, there's a video online called Rise Above the Crowd. This is our journalism program, worked with our College of Business, and they worked with our computing college at Imagine RIT a few years ago to develop this kind of community journalism where people who were walking around Imagine RIT could be taking pictures, writing stories, filming, and at the push of a button it would show up on a big screen, several big screens that they had located all around campus. So it was real-time community journalism. We have a journalism program, and when we started it, people said, well, isn't journalism a dead field? You know? We said, no, journalism is not a dead field, it's just changing. It's just changing. And so our journalism program is really engaged in social media and digital journalism. Music and information technology is an interesting example. Again, given time, I won't go to the website. But Michael Ruling, who is our director of orchestra, is also editor of a journal on the Haydn Association. And this is a really neat journal. It's an online journal, and it really demonstrates the power of online publication. You can go to this website. You can see the academic papers that are published by international scholars on Haydn. But you'll read a paragraph about, you know, some symphony that Haydn wrote, and then you push a button and you hear it. And also what pops up on the screen is the score, so you can kind of follow it. And so you could bring the audio and the visual into the scholarship in really unique ways, and this is published with the help of RIT Press. And as a final example, we're working closely with our gaming folks in the College of Computing and Information Science on things like digital humanities. Here's a game that we had some faculty working on that combined history with computer gaming technology. It's called Pox in the City. It's more of an educational type of game. The idea was it's Edinburgh, Scotland, and the player can either choose to be this doctor who's trying to stop the smallpox epidemic, or they can actually choose to be the smallpox virus. And they learn about epidemiology, and they learn about treatments of the day. They walk into libraries, they open books, and so. But it's an example of taking gaming technology and doing some gamification on some of these important